Now, quick, hurry up. I want you to look surprised when I read this. You're going to be super shocked, I'm sure. So sure. No. Smoking gun emails reveal Tony Blair's deal in blood with George Bush Jr. Dodo Bird, I like to refer to him as, over Iraq War was forged a year before the invasion had even started. Conspiracy theories and theorists, right again. Leaked White House memo shows former Prime Minister support for war at summit with U.S. President in 2002. Bombshell document shows Blair preparing to act as spin doctor for Bush, who was told the UK will follow our lead. Publicly, Blair claimed to be looking for a diplomatic solution in direct contrast to email revelations. New light was shed on the Blair-Bush relations by material disclosed by Hillary Clinton's recently, again, disclosed emails at the order of the U.S. courts. Isn't that amazing? Look what you can find. There's nothing in those emails. There's nothing. There's nothing in the emails. Got a guy at work we love. We love him. There's nothing in those emails. God, it's nothing. The email is a non-issue. Okay, so far what we've uncovered, it's a pretty damn big issue. And this, because he's such a powerful Democrat, this particular person I'm talking about, this he might like this because these emails show the Republican Bush was doing some naughty things. However, I call that hitting two birds with one stone. Let's read on. Bombshell dossier. U.S. Secretary of State at the time, Colin Powell, wrote to the president to say the UK, quote, will be with us. Subject, keeping in mind, when was 9/11, right? 2001. Subject, your meeting with United Kingdom Prime Minister Tony Blair, April 5th through 7th, 2002, at Crawford. September 11th, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 7 months later, we were at that time, we should have all been focused strictly Osama bin Laden. They said he's in Afghanistan, even though 19 hijackers. Yeah, I should do this since the mic's over here. 19 hijackers, Saudi Arabian, so, allegedly. And I'll throw a bonus to you. Some of those hijackers, alleged, are still alive today. They got the wrong people. They still put the names out there. They went with them, and they've never retracted it. Interesting. So this letter. Tony Blair is looking forward to the time he and his family will spend with you at Crawford to deepen, and he's talking about Bush. So this is from Colin Powell, essentially to Bush, and he's saying this is what he's saying. Tony Blair is looking forward to the time he and his family will be spending with you at Crawford to deepen their personal relationship with you and Laura. Buckingham Palace's approval of the trip, despite the Queen Mother's death, attests to the importance the British government ascribes to Blair's meeting with you. Blair will want to discuss Afghanistan. Well, okay. Osama bin Laden, he was in Afghanistan. We got to go in there. That's what we were told. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. So far, so good. Blair would want to discuss, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Middle East, all of it, Russia, and NATO enlargement? Huh. Oh, and trade and development. And I wonder which part of the earth this so-called trade and development was going to be taking place for the elite boys men's club. The club. Oh, probably Afghanistan, Iraq, the Middle East. I don't know about Russia, but I think that was part, because he says he's got semicolon. So Afghanistan, semicolon, Iraq, semicolon, the Middle East, semicolon, Russia and NATO enlargement, semicolon, and trade and development, period. Blair continues to stand by you and the U.S. as we move forward on the war on terrorism and on Iraq. Now hold on. We are in April of 2002. What the hell are you talking about? Move forward on the war on terrorism and on Iraq. The hell does Iraq got to do with the war on terror? Oh, that's right. WMDs. Dick Cheney, boy, mouthpiece of WMD-ness. How many times did that fool say WMD? Weapon not destruction, weapon not destruction. Every time that fool was on TV, in front of the cameras, news, weapons of mass destruction, they've got them, weapons of mass destruction. Where were those weapons? Never found them. Matter of fact, we found some of our own over there that we, I guess, pretended that we found over there, but they were ours. You don't think we had them there and found them to make it look like we found something because there was absolutely nothing, do you? That's another story. Blair continues to stand by you and the U.S. as we move forward on the war on terrorism and on Iraq. He will present to you the strategic, tactical, and public affairs lines that he believes will strengthen the global support for our common cause. So we've got to have public affairs ready to go to convince the whole damn world what we're about to do is a good idea. Gotcha. Blair and the UK are in Afghanistan with us for the long haul. He readily committed to deploy 1,700 commandos, even though his experts warn that British forces are overstretched. The UK welcomes the active political, military, and financial aid the US has provided to persuade Turkey to take on ISAF leadership. The UK welcomes the active political, military, and keyword financial aid that the US has provided to Turkey. How many billions have we probably given to Turkey? I don't even want to know. That's one little teeny entity. Then you got the whole rest of the damn world that we keep throwing money at. Regime change here, work with us. Regime change here, work with us, more money for you. Regime change for everybody, got a lot to go around. And then it blows back up in our faces, and then they get overthrown by someone else, and then there's this chaos wherever we go. Like Putin said from Russia, we don't want you to go into Syria. Look what you've done in Libya, especially in Iraq. The places that they're both war-torn countries. There's extremists taking over. You're not fixing anything. You're making it worse. So we're going to go in and handle this properly. Yeah, but shoot, I can't say anything about that. He's so right. Okay. On Iraq, Blair will be with us should military operations be necessary. He is convinced on 2 points. The threat is real, I'm sure, and success against Saddam will yield more regional success. Aside from his foreign and defense secretaries, however, Blair's cabinet shows signs of, and then there's like secret, classified something, and you can't disclose that, I'm sure. Classified by Secretary of State Colin Powell, reasons EO, which is Executive Order 12958 1.5 B and D. Isn't that amazing? You get to see it right in your face. This is proof positive. We went into Iraq, Middle East, not for war on terrorism, not for Osama bin Laden, because the club needed to expand, get their political favors taken care of, overthrow these regimes that were there. And honestly, we're fine until we showed up. We overthrew them, put in puppets that will do our bidding and accept us. I remember doing the video when they finally got Gaddafi out of Libya and killed him. And I read it on YouTube. I have the video. I said, isn't this interesting? Because the quote unquote rebels that want to overthrow this guy, Gaddafi, Libya at the time, I said, isn't this interesting? So what are the chances, and here's what the story says, that they have a central bank on standby so that when they clean house here shortly, they'll have a central bank and they have their own oil company ready to go so that when they take over Libya, they have, again, a Western central bank. The same central bank like we have the Federal Reserve, like they have in the UK, their ECB, European Central Bank. Australia has a central, anybody that has a central bank, Japan, etc. All fiat currency, all created by the Rothschild dynasty from the very beginning. And they killed Gaddafi, who didn't have those things like that was there under their control. And then immediately, these rebels have a central bank and an oil company ready to go. As soon as you give us the green light, we got that taken care of. And they had to fund the initial funding for their central bank with gold. I did the story on that one. I remember. The damning memo. So that's the end of the memo. The classified document also discloses that Blair agreed to act as a glorified spin doctor for the president by presenting public affairs lines to convince a skeptical public that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction when none existed. In return, the president would flatter Blair's ego and give the impression that Britain was not America's poodle, but an equal partner in the special relationship. The damning memo from Secretary of State Colin Powell to President George Bush was written on March 28th, again, right by April 2002, a week before Bush's famous summit with Blair at his Crawford Ranch in Texas. In it, Powell tells Bush that Blair will be with us on military action. Powell assures the president the UK will follow our lead. The disclosure is certain to lead for calls for Sir John Chilcot to reopen his inquiry into the Iraq War, as is believed he has not seen the Powell memo. Not until today. A second explosive memo from the same cache also reveals how Bush used spies in the Labour Party to help him to manipulate British public opinion in favor of the war. The documents obtained by the Mail on Sunday are part of a batch of secret emails held on the private server of Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, which U.S. courts have forced her to reveal. So, if this came from, I thought you just had this email server fairly recently, Hillary. You've got stuff on there from 2002. Holy crap. The documents obtained, I've already read that. Former Tory Shadow Home Security David Davis said, quote, the memos prove in explicit terms what many of us have believed all along. Tony Blair effectively agreed to act as a frontman for American foreign policy in advance of any decision by the House of Commons or the British cabinet. He was happy to launder George Bush's policy on Iraq and subcontract British foreign policy to another country without having the remotest ability to have any real influence over it. And in return for what? For George Bush pretending Blair was a player on the world stage to impress voters in the UK when the Americans didn't even believe it themselves. Davis was backed by a senior diplomat whose close knowledge of Blair-Bush relations who also said, this memo shows beyond doubt for the first time Blair was committed to the Iraq War before he even set foot in Crawford. So, again, quick look shocked. And I'm looking at all these photos of Bush and Blair, and every time they're meeting, these guys they're both extremely excited, smiling, having a great time, as if it's like someone's daughter's getting married or son's getting married. It's just, Okay, either you're very concerned, Middle East, terrorists, we got to go after these guys. I got our ally coming over. We're gonna have a serious meeting tonight, and you're gonna have a serious face on the whole time because this is a serious problem. Or you're gonna be giddy with glee and joy, knowing that your buddies in the military-industrial complex, these corporations that make billions and billions and billions, which turns into trillions on us taxpayers, you guys are going to be making profits hand over fist. Of course, you're going to be smiling and happy. It's as if you just won the lottery because you did win the lottery. You won more than the lottery. These, what lotteries are billions of dollars? None. Oh, Powerball was $250 million. Oh my God. Peasants, get away from me. I have a contracting company that makes $3 billion every year. What do you get lost? How much did that Iraq war cost us? Trillions. Since its inception, they about 2 trillion. Okay, whatever. Well, let's just be let's be nice to the liars and say it's just 2 trillion. It was $2 trillion the taxpayers of this country and UK has to deal with their side that are on the hook for. So when you hear a law get passed in Congress called Obamacare and there's not going to be any tax raises, don't worry about it. But if you don't have to have insurance, you will get taxed. The first year, second year goes up exponentially, and the third year goes up insanely if you don't have insurance. You got to pay this IRS fee. Fine. Got to help pay back some of that. But I didn't make any money. I didn't make any of those $2 trillion. I'm not part of the club. I'm the one that's stuck paying the bill. Is it not amazing? No matter how far back in history you go, the peasant taxpayer is always responsible for the political and financial elite. It doesn't matter what time frame you're talking about, hundreds of years, thousands of years, it doesn't matter because it always happens. And since it always happens, you might be curious to know what happens after this kind of stuff starts blowing up in everybody's faces and we can't sustain the burden. That's when things get really bad. That's when things like revolutions start. That's when shooting and killing starts happening. Because people will be so absolutely furious and upset because not only is the tax burden, the debt burden, all these burdens, but then you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose it. And then, as Gerald Celente, I love him, he loves to say, when people have nothing else left to lose, they lose it. I remember doing some stories back after 2008, and mostly on Facebook, when the first financial collapse happened, which was, again, it wasn't even, it was like a walk in the park, pretty what's about to happen. And I remember seeing all these stories of people lost my job. I've been here 15 years. Walk in, start shooting people up. Other one lost my house. Get a bulldozer, mow the whole damn house down. Another one, I'll just wreck the house and destroy it. I mean, just crazy stories you never heard of before. When people have nothing else left to lose, they lose it. And if that was a little teeny taste back then, can you imagine what it's going to be like in the near future? Oh, that's why I'm just hoping when all this goes down, silver, gold, rocket, I'm going to say, oh my God, as I've said a million times, oh my God. I know I said it a million times, but I still can't believe it's happening right now. I can sell my silver, not even all of it, and buy a house for cash money. Buy a house with cash money. Own it. No payments. Just taxes, of course. Property taxes and whatnot. And insurance. Might as well have a house insurance. Hate for the thing to get blown away by a hurricane, right? In other words, almost no fee yearly. I mean, just nothing. While everyone else, or not everyone, but a lot of people are going to be suffering. They think they've got the best financial advisor, money. I've got money and I've got the best people handling my money and my stuff. And you're going to remember what old Lindsey Williams said. If it's written on a piece of paper, it won't be worth the paper it's written on. when this goes down. And I don't know if you've been looking around lately over the last month. Again, unless you're under a rock, some pretty darn interesting things have been happening, to say the least, related to financial Armageddon and real life Armageddon with Russia. And now we're about to go mess with the Chinese and their little islands. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds great. Another thing that Gerald Celente said when they ran out of things to do, can't kick the can, they have to deal with it, they take you to war. And we aren't, usually you'd think, oh, was there like an enemy somewhere? Oh no, we're provoking. Everywhere we go, we're provoking. Russia, we're going to clean house on ISIS. They did. We send 50 tons of munitions right back the next day. Here you go. Free Syrian rebel army. Here's some stuff for you. Oh, hold on, that's ISIS. No, it's not. It's the Free Syrian rebel army. No, it's ISIS. They've got all those 4x4 Toyotas that we finally found out how they got them. Pictures of ISIS running around in brand new 4x4 Toyotas. That's against our international treaties and laws with our buddies in Japan. Toyota, Japan, how the hell did they get these? We don't know, but we'll help you find out. Never mind, we already figured it out. Here's two different stories where the State Department gave Free Syrian Rebel Army these exact models. All of them, 43 of them. And in the picture we see being paraded around as the ISIS bandits have these things, you can count 18 of them. We gave them 43. Well, there's only 18. Now we know. That's because it's the same thing. ISIS is Free Syrian Rebel Army. One and the same. So in theory, we, as in the federal government, is aiding and abetting terrorism. And I believe that Patriot Act is still intact. I wonder if anyone's going to go after the federal government and charge them with that. Oh, wait a minute. That would require the state, like Fast and Furious. We're gonna see who's responsible for this. Oh, it's the head of the State Department, essentially. Attorney General of how's his name? Former. He stepped down. Now we got a female there, and their lower guys said, "No, we're not going to look into this. Not at all. We're not going to go after him. Of course, he's our boss. Can't do that. So don't hold your breath and think anything's going to get done about this. They're going to go after George Bush or Tony Blair. I would love nothing more than to see that happen. Oh, I probably would cry, and I would film it for you guys because I love you. Take care.